This is the Kaplan Office in Durham, North Carolina, near Duke University, where I taught the LSAT prep class for just about 2 or 3 months. And it still gives me a slight case of PTSD just to think about it. Number 1 is the cookie cutter script. Every employee, or at least back when I was teaching the LSAT, was given a couple of humongous binders telling you exactly what you had to cover, what you had to say, the problems you were supposed to cover, the different techniques you had to teach a certain way for every single class. There was very little room for creativity or varying the course in order to accommodate the different needs of the students. Number 2, the high cost. I just looked at the Kaplan website and it looks like the LSAT course starts at $1,200 and it can be even as much as $1,600 or more plus tax, depending on what kind of extra features or if you want some sort of extra online learning. Is it worth it? Not really sure. Number 3, not tailored to you. These classes are not tailored to you whatsoever. You're going to be in a class most likely with anywhere from 20 to 30, 40 other students, and everybody's going to be of different ability. When I was teaching LSAT, I had some students who were scoring as high as, say, like 167 on their practice LSAT going into the class. But then I also had some students that had very low scores on the practice tests. I'm talking less than 140, maybe 138. I was kind of surprised because pretty much all of my students were Duke University undergrads, but there was this incredible diversity in their abilities, which made it incredibly hard to teach the class because you didn't know if you had to slow things down and really break things down for the students that couldn't get it versus boring the heck out of the students that were already scoring really great coming in. Number 4, the questions are not real LSAT problems. So that's a real problem there, because wouldn't you rather be working through actual real LSAT problems when you're practicing for your big day? But all those questions that they give you at the Kaplan course are based off of what somebody else makes based on LSAT problems. So go get those real previously administered tests instead. This is the website you need to know. You probably already know it, though, if you're applying to law school, www.lsa.org. And if you click under LSAT Prep, you're going to find a bunch of links where you can order books. It can also take you to, say, like Amazon or the Barnes & Noble website where you can order the books. There are so many different versions available. I recommend the Super Prep, which I think costs about $100. Or you can get the 10 real previously administered LSATs for as little as $21 to $25 for that book. And it also includes explanations of the answers. Signing up for an LSAT prep course is sort of like paying hundreds of dollars a month for a gym membership. You could stay fit just by working out in your neighborhood, running around for free, doing sit-ups and push-ups in your home. But for some people, they need to pay that money to make themselves accountable and achieve their goals. So since I don't highly recommend those expensive prep courses for the reasons that have already been provided, what are my best tips then? This is what I did. I ended up purchasing a bunch of actual, real, previously administered LSAT tests. And every weekend, say on Saturday, 9 o'clock in the morning, I was in the actual classroom where I thought I was going to end up taking the LSAT on campus. And I sat there and timed myself taking these practice tests. And then I went over the answers. And if I had any questions, luckily I did have a couple of good friends who had scored really high on the LSAT who gave me a little bit of advice. So practice, practice, practice. Okay, go on the lsac.org website and order those prep tests. All in all, if you get the super pack or get the 10 real LSATs, that should probably only cost you about no more than
$50 to $80 for that. And I noticed on their website that they also have a link to the Khan Academy. They have a free prep class for the LSAT. So I haven't totally looked through it, but I have heard great things about Khan Academy. That is totally free. And so try that out. Probably you don't really need to spend $1,200 or $1,600 on a cookie cutter prep class then, if you do it those ways. So I would recommend that at least 6 months before your actual LSAT date that you start doing those trial runs that I'm telling you to do. You know, you need to set a set schedule. Every single weekend you're going to take the exam, preferably on a Saturday morning or whatever time you normally would be taking the real LSAT. And time yourself, see how you can do, see if you have certain weaknesses that you maybe need to hire a private tutor to work on, or just see if your scores gradually increase just because you're taking the test repeatedly and you're sensing these patterns in the way that they ask the questions. So in terms of a private tutor, I highly, highly recommend that, because I also have done work as a private LSAT instructor. I really enjoyed doing that a lot more than teaching those cookie cutter prep classes, because I could tailor my lessons to exactly what my student needed, just one-on-one. I didn't have to teach to the lowest common denominator of the class at all. I could just do whatever my student needed to work on for that session. Another caveat, though, if you get a private tutor, I think it's a good idea to just go ahead and prepay that private tutor for at least X number of classes. You know, after your first session, if you get the sense that you like your instructor and you get along well with them, you like their teaching style, they know what they're doing, then just go ahead and prepay for at least 4 or 5 classes, because that will keep you on schedule. I did have some students where I advertised on Craigslist back then, got some students that way. But then some of the students ended up kind of flaking out, and that was to their own detriment. You know, like we never had any sort of set schedule for some of those students, and then they would end up canceling, or something came up, or they got too busy with something to do with their jobs. So they didn't have that consistency of having regular LSAT tutorial sessions with me, which that's the downside of doing it privately. You know, because if you sign up for a prep class, you know that, for example, every Tuesday night or every Saturday morning, you are going to be there in that business's classroom for 3 hours total. So there's some more accountability if you take a prep class versus getting a private tutor. But if you can stick to a schedule with your private tutor, I highly recommend the private tutor method instead. Also, please check out my tips on another video that I have about studying for the bar exam. Those tips, a lot of them are the same for taking any sort of standardized test. You need to have a schedule, you need to practice, you need to focus on just getting this test over with and scoring as high as possible, because you don't want to get in the habit of taking the LSAT repeatedly. That just looks bad. I don't think anyone should take the LSAT for real more than 2 times, because any more than that, it just kind of makes you seem like you're desperately just shooting for the stars each time, and the law school will probably end up averaging your score anyway. So just give it your best shot at least once, maybe twice at most, and that's it. That is your score, and that will have a big factor in what kind of law school you get admitted to. Hopefully these tips will be of some use to you. I have some tips that are generally good for anybody taking any sort of standardized exam. They're in the bar exam tip video, but I'll just briefly summarize them here, which is that you need to isolate yourself at least a month before your actual test date. Just turn off all your social network accounts. Don't even look at them. Don't even read the news. Try not to socialize or put yourself in any potentially stressful or emotional situations where you might get really distracted. Under those circumstances, you just want to really focus on taking your practice exams under real-time circumstances. Work with your private tutor to get you the best score possible. So I wish you all the best of luck with your LSAT testing. And if you have any questions, feel free to post a comment. Thanks for subscribing, and thanks for sharing my videos. See you next time.